What's up, everybody? My name is Kaylin. I am the Keykeeper, and today we are going to do a deeper dive into the relationship of Saturn with mermaids. Now, when we listened to that clip by Sevan Boma, we already heard him delineate the connection of mermaid symbolism, esoteric notions of Saturn as it relates to Tantra, the cult of Set, and the Sibyl oracles. Today, I just wanted to continue that thread by bringing in Melusine, Saturn's role in kingship, and we are going to be looking at Saturn in Pisces and Saturn ruled nakshatras, as Saturn ruled nakshatras are between Jupiter ruled nakshatras and Mercury ruled nakshatras, which is interesting because Jupiter gets a lot of serpentine Yaldabaoth associations, and Saturn as the outer boundary of the seven archontic planets, all relating to what Manly P. Hall said about Jupiter as the principality of principalities, the prince of this world, the spirit of Apollo, all of these demiurge creating in the image of his mother things that Sevan Boma spoke about, that relates the pentagram version of magic versus the flower of life version of magic, or what would be a undivine masculine versus a divine feminine. And so it just got me thinking about mermaids and water spirits and the relationship of those to land, wealth, prosperity. We know in ancient Egypt the pharaoh was required to masturbate into the Nile. We know Set was also a lord of the scorching deserts, right? And that makes me think of Hasta Nakshatra as opposed to the juicy Rohini, and the whole idea of virginal bestial flames, priestesses containing the serpent fire. You know, my fairy tale love of Winx and Bloom. These blooming ideas as to why there is a cult around women and certain types of women's bloodlines or gifts. You know, it's very Dune as well. So that kind of tied into me with the legend of Melusine and how just what we learned about Beyonce and Oshu and water spirits in general in relation to wealth. Sevan Boma also has a discussion on that, and we can see in terms of the fact that Saturn now being in Pisces what the true currency is, what really is the spiritual exchange behind all the goods and formats and values that we are circulating through maritime admiralty law, through that shadow side of a Mercury revelty dealing with commerce and greed and avarice as its shadow, right? All while being imbibed through the Neptunian and the Dionysian. So I wanted to just expound on all of those thoughts. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to delve a little bit deeper and see, kind of what AI as a chatbot gives me, how much is it willing to give me, like how deep is it going to connect the threads for me, because going through Sybil AI, ironically, the types of questions that I asked it, I thought I would be getting references to all these encoded etymological words, breaking down this way and that way about how something connects to, like, I don't know, a modern movie or just a modern incarnation of the same trope, and it just gave me a bunch of stuff like this, and this I got from ChatGPT. So I'm gonna try and add thoughts as they kind of like get inspired by what I knew I was kind of like also wanting it to go towards. And yeah, I'm gonna try and just like not lose my place in all of this, because there's quite a few points that I want to cover. I want to cover just Tantra and the Mermaid connection, the cult of Set and the Mermaid connection. Certain things R.S.E. Walker said about just the very gather the fish, gather the tails type of thinking of what really happens to the feminine, a la the Persephone journey, but also a la the dark Persephone Hollywood handler type of journey. We basically understand from the spiritual point of view that certain people are lured into Hollywood. Many people audition and want to have a break in Hollywood, right? But the people who make it are, according to the narratives, in the realms of conspiracy theory. Disclaimer, guys. So the people who make it, they have certain energies that is useful for what Hollywood as a microcosm really is, because what you often see is not only do we see Nakshatra's typecast, right, in a biographical film, for example, where the actor who plays somebody who everybody knows, that actor will most often have a primary nakshatra the same as the person who they are playing. And even if it's a fairy tale character, they know, I believe they know, that a mullah woman is going to be the final girl in a horror, or the beauty to beast. They know that a Purva Bhadrapada woman is going to be a femme fatale. They can get away with casting a Uttarabhadrapada or an Anuradha or even a Pushya as a mermaid or as a Cinderella, which, according to Claire Nocti's scent is more around Uttarabhadrapada. But even the idea of the silver-footed Aphrodite and the idea of her giving up her tail for legs, the way we see in many mermaid true love type of stories. And when we're going to darker, or just like, there are different stories about water spirits, water goddesses. There are different stories related to fae and nymphs and chimeras or changelings, people being swapped from the waters or snatched from the shore. So there's like this aquatic meets serpentine land bridge to it. where the chimeric features more through the notions of Dagon and Enki. I always think of that notion of the deep Inger coming from the Abzu and these types of things that we know that like there's been different translations put forward for all these things, but just going with me like how it all kind of like swims together, I guess. The tales of it all these tales, guys. So yeah, it does relate to me with Lilith and Melusine and the idea of a chimera and a Makara and a anima rejected or a genie or a disembodied spirit or a moon star or a eighth sphere spirit or a archontic principality that, you know, like just, I don't know, do you call it kelpies or, you know, thought forms that have their own lives because they have the 7 rays coloring them in, they have the 7 principles, they have all of those, and that bridging it to the 9 through your Rahu Ketu that animates form from formlessness. Because you are, like we said on that cipher, you are from your IC to your MC, an ascendant and descendant, learning form and formlessness, and that dance of creation between those dualities, right? Whether you want to call it Shiva and Shakti, or the vertical and the horizontal, the male and the female, the yin and the yang. There's something about the fact that at the heart of that cipher, Saturn comes out of the 5th house opposite Uranus, which we know through the castration story also generates a churning of the cosmic ocean because the coagulated foam of that produces Aphrodite. And we know Velikovsky relates it to the moon, and we know that a moon star has all of these occult symbolism that relates the sheaths, the films of memory to the light in the projection field of the matrix. So it becomes this organic experience of yourself. I don't know if I make any sense right now, but bringing it back to like just, I guess, wanting to put the mermaid spirit into perspective simultaneously with the serpent and the kundalini type of electromagnetic, chimeric, thought form, Jupiterian, etheric type of thing, which does become the ring of Saturn, which does become the, you know, the guiding principle that swallows all the other children into like one disciplined wool, crystallized your lead, right? Saturn led you to gold. So even the Sun Saturn dichotomy, you know, it becomes eclipsed by the fact that Rahu and Ketu is this demonic schism within yourself that perhaps did not allow you to go transcendent of the Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Prima Mobile, crystalline sea, and firmament of it all. So yeah, I don't know, and Chiron and that centaur, you know, being a key to that between the etheric and the terrestrial, and then, you know, it just becomes more primordial and dense and unconscious. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. So what I wrote down The esoteric connection of mermaid symbolism with Tantra, the cult of Set, the Sibyl oracles, Melusine, and Saturn's role in kingship. Throughout history, mermaids have captivated the human imagination with their enigmatic allure. These mythical creatures, half human and half fish, have found a place in various esoteric traditions and symbolisms, connecting them to diverse aspects of spirituality, mythology, and mysticism. This essay delves into the esoteric connections of mermaid symbolism with Tantra, the cult of Set, the Sibyl oracles, the Melusine legend, and Saturn's role in kingship. Tantra and the mermaid connection. Tantra is a spiritual practice originating in ancient India, and it seeks to unite opposites and harness the dualistic forces within the self and the universe. The mermaid's unique hybrid nature, combining human and aquatic attributes, can be seen as a symbol of this union of opposites. In Tantra, the merging of Shiva, the male principle, and Shakti, the female principle, is central. Similarly, the mermaid embodies the fusion of the terrestrial and aquatic realms, representing the harmony of opposing forces. The cult of Set and the mermaid. The ancient Egyptian deity Set, often associated with chaos and disruption, bears intriguing parallels to the mermaid symbolism. Set's connection to the mermaid a la Sylvain Beaumont can be interpreted through their shared role as symbols of the unpredictable and untamed forces of nature, and how the unification of such opposites, i.e. tantric sexual practices, can lead to a harmonic cosmogenesis of one's creative force in what was once either a barren desert or an otherwise untamable nature. Just as the mermaid represents the mysterious depths of the ocean, Set embodies the wild and uncontrollable aspects of existence. Both challenge conventional notions of order and hierarchy, making them intriguing figures in esoterica. I also wrote down here the idea of sex, tantra, seminal fluid, the inundation of the Nile, with the pharaoh masturbating into the waters of life, his waters of life. Semen is the river of life, the car of Ra, and this connection of semen to Hathor and Isis and the Milky Way through just the Shu Tefnut of it all. And then when I think of Shu, I also think of Oshun, a Yoruba goddess, and how that syncretizes to like a Mary, Magdalene, the waters of life, Sophia, Pistis Sophia, and also to the Persi, Allah, all of this in the waters, in the sheen of her toenail, the great goddess. It makes me think of Rohini moon and the Juice versus Hasta moon as the barren, and how the other end of Virgo would be those fishtails, right? And then the desert Set, to me is like the Capricorn Sag opposite the Gemini Cancer. And Cancer also has kind of mermaidy symbolism, and we know we have Pushya there, which we will discuss later. But also the chimeric notion of Punarvasus, Aditi, and Babylon. So I just wrote here, Desert of Set equals mermaid, Sibyl, sex, priestess, cult, to create the Wizards of Oz and the lands of magic with the Hollywood. You know, it's these types of things of like the real sacred wand and the phallus and the yods and the hand of God in creation and the pen and the penis and the penile and the pineal. It's all of these things, you know, like creating what Sevan described as this building of a tower, and coming to the Melusine connection of how she would most often just build him a tower or a castle, and Punarvasu also relating to that a la his videos. Next point, the Sibyl oracles and mermaid imagery. The Sibyl oracles, originating in ancient Greece, featured priestesses known as Sibyls who conveyed divine prophecies and guidance. In some depictions, these Sibyls are shown with fishtails evoking mermaid imagery. That is interesting because in aquamarine, another relation to a gemstone, and if you look at the color of Neptune in the ninth, it's just interesting. But they said in aquamarine that mermaids can speak every language known to man, fish, and yeah, they can like speak every language. So that's interesting because they say these Sibyls are shown with fishtails evoking mermaid imagery, and the idea of an oracle uttering in tongues and tones and languages that would be known unto people who, in a cosmopolitan setting like Greece, or you know, those here would use it, and if they would be able to translate it, I guess, you know. But I don't know, like, did all the prophecies come in the language that everybody understood at the time around those? I don't know. I'm just thinking, guys. So this connection suggests that the mermaid symbolizes prophetic insights and esoteric wisdom, mirroring the Sibyl's role as conduits of divine knowledge. Next, we're going to discuss Melusine and her mermaid lineage. The Melusine legend, popular in medieval Europe, centers around a woman with a secret mermaid-like form. Her lineage is often linked to water deities and merfolk, indicating a connection between her supernatural qualities and the mermaid symbolism. This connection underscores the idea that mermaids represent hidden or mystical aspects of the self, and lineage resonating with esoteric themes such as heritage, royalty, bloodlines. So Melusine, there's an interesting and very enigmatic connection to royalty and kingship when we start featuring the Melusine idea, and the idea of Saturn. You know, Saturn is also a maker in Vedic astrology. They will, you know, give a very high reverence to Saturn in certain positions because it will indicate a king. So it's very interesting because Saturn in Pisces is one of those positions that I believe I have seen. You know, other times they focus on Jupiter as well, but Jupiter kind of denotes a prince energy also. So that's interesting because the principality and Apollo and the sun and the son of the sun and all of these things. Venus, Athene, Mars, Marduk, Apollo, like who are all of them, right? Well, they are all kind of like embryos of one. So, Melusine is a name shrouded in mysticism and folklore, and it has captivated the imaginations of many throughout history. This enigmatic figure is often associated with tales of royalty and kingship, weaving a web of legends that blur the lines between reality and myth. In this part of the research essay, we will be exploring the esoteric connection of Melusine to royalty and kingship, delving into the historical, cultural, and symbolic aspects that have linked her to the highest echelons of power. So first, the legend of Melusine. To understand the connection between Melusine and royalty, we must first delve into the legend of Melusine itself. Melusine is often depicted as a beautiful woman with a mysterious secret. She possesses a serpentine lower half, or in some variations, the lower body of a fish. She also was noted to have turned into a dragon. So her story, rooted in medieval European folklore, traces her lineage to a union between the human nobleman Alinus and a water nymph. The union produces Melusine and her sisters, each inheriting their mother's supernatural traits. Does Melusine and the Gorgons have a connection, guys? Comment down below. This kind of like just reminds me a little bit of that also. So marriage to royalty. One of the most prominent aspects of the Melusine legend is her marriage to a mortal man, often a noble or even a king. According to the legend, Melusine weds Raymondin, the Duke of Aquitaine. However, she imposes a particularly peculiar condition upon their union. Raymondin must never see her on Saturdays, Saturn's day, when she transforms into her serpentine or piscine form. Piscine, piscine, piscian. This condition, as well as Melusine's otherworldly origins, symbolizes the tension between the ethereal and the earthly, echoing the dual nature of monarchy itself. Okay, so these are the types of AI responses that just creams my corn, because I'm like, really, it couldn't go any deeper. But I get it as like a, you know, I get it. I don't know, guys. Yeah, the Aquitaine kind of gives me a clue to like Poseidon, Medusa, horses, sea foam, Athena, all sorts of things like that. And just the idea of marriage to royalty, like if you are a usurped or a stolen bride or something like that, bound in chains or something, and then she transforming into an unchained or serpentine or piscine form, dissolving the boundaries, and just the idea that Melusine gave offspring that were defective in some places of her legend, either because she was peaked upon and then the children became sick or became deformed or stuff like that. It's also very, I don't know if it's reminding me of like incest and bloodlines and royalty and inbreeding and things like that as well. That kind of like keeps these grails and bloodlines within the family, right? Keep producing more and more out of it. Somehow there's this connection to like the serpent and the magnetism of all of that, and those Shaktis that these reptilian conspiracy theories, I guess at their deeper root, also trying to say what Boma is saying when he's saying like about 15% of the women come from a mermaid clan and are the ones who can charge men. And that, even Adolf Hitler or Mao or, they were looking for these vestal virgins, these pure bloods, the way you see on a movie like Conan the Barbarian, right? Um, it's very deep, so I just have to wonder where it all connects and intersects, right? Because when it comes to black and the way that intersects all colors, literally and figuratively, and origins, there's just something very deep about what Sevan said about the black mermaid idea as well. So, yeah, I'm not 100% sold on like the whole Rashad Jamal world vision either of like black is king, queen, and melanin and carbon and all of that, and the white people are vampires or hybrids, or the Adam Red race are cancer and they get cancer. Like, they are really like crazy claims made about these things, and I'm just like, is there nothing better that we can like believe about all of this? Because sometimes I just feel like, well, who is gaining from that perspective in the long run, or just right now even? um I don't know, it's like, do we really want to have an enemy around every corner the way we've been programmed to see it? And then we cause the fighting because we have animated the world through a TV black screen, witchcrafted, programmed insert of ourselves, and nothing is wrong with it because ultimately we are just being shown what we are capable of and how we would react, and there is no sin, and all of this just makes money for people who figured out the game. Like, let's make a war, let's do this. Like I am like, ugh, I'm at the literal verge of feeling so on the roof about everything that I'm just like, okay, that's what they believe. But like, to me personally, I have to ask myself, like, what does holding on to information that I learned and used to shape my worldview, consciously, subconsciously, just through curiosity and what sank in and what questions I had later, years later, like, even like, for example, about like my game God of War, or whatever it is. Like, that's the whole point out of us, the return of the good, where it's like, I feel like we just want to see the good come out of everything inevitably, and that everything had this grand reason for being good. And maybe that's naive, and I've definitely felt the trine of the Vishaka split and the Purva Bhadrapada two-facedness of it all. But now I'm just trying to return to the good within myself, where I'm just like, okay, what can I be comfortable with? What feels good to my body? What feels appropriate to associate to source? And what do I just really have to kill as lies within myself? And that the truth lies within, that's very deep also, because it's like your memories will be there for you as wisdom. So, delving deeper into the Melusine royal offspring connection, the offspring of Melusine and Raymondin further solidify her connection to royalty lineage, the right of rulership, the right to kingship, legitimacy, and all of these monarchical institutions, right? The descendants are said to have founded noble dynasties such as the House of Lusignan. Lusignan. The most famous descendant is Geoffrey Plantagenet, Count of Anjou, who later became King Geoffrey, or Geoffrey, it's probably Geoffrey, the second of England. This lineage links Melusine not only to the nobility but to the English monarchy itself, illustrating her enduring presence in the annals of history. So now there's a mention of symbolism and allegory. Melusine's tale is a rich tapestry of symbolic allegories, making her a compelling figure for those interested in the esoteric. Her serpentine or Piscean form, alternatively also dragon and phoenix-like, can be seen as a symbol of hidden truths and the mystical aspects of royalty and power. Her marriage to Raymondin serves as an allegory for the delicate tantric balance between the supernatural and the human realm of kingship. The legacy in art and literature. Melusine's story has left an indelible mark on art and literature. Paintings, tapestries, and literary works have depicted her as a symbol of feminine mystery and the connection between the supernatural and the royal. Her presence in these mediums continued to captivate audiences, ensuring her place in the collective consciousness. So the esoteric connection of Melusine to royalty and kingship is a testament to the enduring power of folklore and myth. Her legend weaves a narrative that explores the complexities of power, marriage, and the otherworldly. Whether seen as a symbol of hidden truths or a representation of the ethereal aspects of monarchy, Melusine remains a mysterious and alluring figure whose enigmatic allure inspires and fascinates continuously. So now we're going to discuss Saturn's role in kingship and mermaid symbolism. In various mythologies and esoteric traditions, Saturn is associated with kingship, time, and the cyclical nature of existence. The mermaid's connection to Saturn can be seen in her representation of the cyclical nature of life and her role as a guardian of the deep, where time seems to stand still. I always think of the Atun Apep Noon story. This connection highlights, and also like the Yahweh Leviathan story, and the Ouroborean story, and the Yugas, and all of that. The cosmic serpent. This connection highlights the mermaid's esoteric role as a symbol of eternal mysteries and the hidden aspects of power. So Saturn in Pisces and the mystical symbolism of mermaids have long held a deep esoteric connection. The celestial influence of Saturn in the sign of Pisces has been believed to manifest profound spiritual insights, while mermaids with a half-human, half-fish form represent a bridge between the earthly and the divine, especially through the notion of the waters of life. This research therefore suggests that there is an esoteric significance of Saturn in Pisces at this time, and its connection to mermaids in various mystical traditions being resurfaced in our popular imagination, such as recently with the live-action pic of The Little Mermaid. So, the astrological perspective. Saturn is the planet associated with discipline, boundaries, and transformation, and takes on a unique character when positioned in the sign of Pisces. Pisces, a water sign ruled by Neptune, is known for its intuition, dreams, and connection to the subconscious. When Saturn aligns with Pisces, it emphasizes the need for spiritual growth and the dissolution of ego boundaries. This celestial combination is believed to usher in periods of deep introspection and spiritual transformation. So yeah, even Melusine as a mystery unto her husband that ultimately is unveiled for like a deeper spiritual truth or transformation. The dissolution of ego boundaries, separation, all of those things that, enduring legacy requires these tantric practices so that, in the kids there aren't these genetic schisms of females. Not that everybody should be born a divine androgyne, moonchild, Jesus, I don't know what, Atreides from Dune. But maybe that is also what is being said, that those who don't really take the care to do what they need to do before they have a child, that child will show them exactly where they were, like for the rest of their lives, right? So if they created the child with the intention of bringing together the harmonies that they were seeking, then that is what that child will manifest as. So it's just very interesting, like the is our mother serpent, the Lilith connection, the demonization of the feminine for giving you bad babies. It's just, but in her true form, she's only a mirror. She's the output of what you put in. And it's quite literally that which corrects the male ego principle to be more firm, enduring, and in touch with itself in order to penetrate deeper and expand wider. It's very sexual, but it's very true. So, mermaids are of a dual nature, and it makes them a powerful symbol in mystical traditions, right? Ugh, I just get so annoyed with this AI type of script because it feels so repetitive. The human upper body represents consciousness and intellect, while the fish-like lower body emphasizes the hidden depths of the unconscious mind and the mysterious ocean. Mermaids are therefore seen as intermediaries between the mundane world and the realms of the divine and the unknown. Now this makes me think of Virgo and Ophiuchus and Sag and what's happening to the galactic center, right? And how it's kind of drawing all those watery, deep creatures towards it from the one side, and yeah, it's basically like if I see the cosmic goddess in a cosmic man sense, and the womb is that part of the galactic center, right? The birth canal. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. So, in alchemical traditions, the fusion of Saturn and Pisces and the mermaid symbolism can be seen as a metaphor for the alchemical process of transformation. Alchemists sought to transmute base materials rather, into spiritual gold, mirroring the journey of the soul towards enlightenment. The mermaid, with her dual nature, embodies the merging of opposites and the transcendence of earthly limitations. This also reminds me of Mercury nakshatras as Gandantas, following the austerity of a Saturn-ruled nakshatra, and how esoterically going backwards a Mercury-ruled nakshatra would come through the Ketu up against the Saturn. which reminds me of esoteric Mercury belonging to Aries and Mercury being another name for the sun. It's interesting. So is the morning star the sun or is it Venus? Like, is our sun the newest Hermetic principle? Venus? Or is the sun like this more eternal thing? I don't know. um, Water and emotions. Pisces is a water sign, and water is often associated with memory, emotions, and the unconscious mind. Saturn in Pisces may bring forth intense emotional experience and a deep exploration of the soul's inner waters. Mermaids, as creatures of the sea, serves as guides through these emotional depths, aiding in the navigation of one's inner world. The next point here is the mystical feminine archetype. In many mystical traditions, mermaids are associated with the divine feminine energy. They are seen as symbols of intuition, nurturing, and emotional depth. The union of Saturn's discipline and Pisces' intuition within the mermaid archetype represents a harmonious balance of masculine and feminine energies, fostering spiritual growth and wisdom. And that thing Saturn, or Sivan said about Saturn and its relationship to Guru, and just what I said about Aquamarine saying mermaids can speak every language. It's very satisfying that Saturn and the ether element as a ruler, Mula Tricona ruler of Aquarius, and all of those things kind of make sense, resulting in an air sign Libra. So, yeah, there's more to that, but let's just conclude here for a while.